you assimilated you.
Actually, you know what's interesting about that is that I never say, if it's not your truth, don't stay married. I never say that. I know you heard it.
You interpret it as that.
I just tell people to honor their truth.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about a lot of relationships being lies, you know.
You let we moguls put we make the connections.
Yeah.
Us little brains.
I love your
3%.
coat.
5%.
Coat. Hey, Trent,
Yes.
are we in a position where we can get started?
Yeah, video is back online streaming, so that's good. And I'll
Okay.
figure out
Let me ask if they see it. I have a couple people asking me, why isn't it working?
And who else is gonna be here tonight besides Elisa and you? Of the advanced leaders?
Nico, Shelley, there's actually a couple different people had confirmed.
Start calling them and people in Movement to Mastery, okay?
Oh, who's left? It was, I know that,
I knew that
Irving.
Sarah wasn't, I know Zen's not, and I knew Emily wasn't.
Right.
Or the coaches. Movement to Mastery,
I spoke to Irving today.
I didn't know that Irving would not be here.
He said something about talking with Lori. That's what he told me on the phone. I thought he had spoken to
He and
you.
Sarah, I believe, we're gonna schedule a meeting.
Okay, so for all practical purposes, we can go ahead and start, and then let me know what happens when you call people, okay? Good, terrific.
I already looked at it 600 times, so it's in my head.
I can tell you're gonna be one of the
Top students. yeah.
top people on the quiz, you know what I mean? That's great.
Took a step like that.
Do you remember the quiz? When you were in Movement to Mastery?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Do you remember doing any good at the quiz?
No, I was horrible at it.
Were you?
Yeah.
You were resisting too, so. I'm already assimilated. You were resisting, so. Futile.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a warm-up, and before I do, I'm gonna share something with you. When you can slow down enough inside of yourself, the more you can land in yourself, the more you can land in your authentic, real self, and truly be here, now. The more you can see others' magnificent self. It is my ability to see someone else's true magnificence that lands me in my highest Christ-like self. Now, I think it was last New Year's Eve that Lloyd did a connected breath, and I decided I'd do it. And during that connected breath, in my experience, Christ literally handed me my Christ-like self. And the feeling I got when that happened was that he'd waited a long time to be able to give this to me. And over this last year, it's been fascinating to watch the little reflections of it. And this truth or principle that I just shared with you is one of those reflections that I notice that when I'm doing the 4 steps that comes from Magical Realms with somebody and we're really being with each other, I notice that as I'm able to actually see their magnificent self, that it is what lands me in my Christ-like self. It's the vehicle. You know, Warner used to say, you don't have to go looking for love when love is where you're coming from. And more I get it, more each day, that everything that makes life work is about where am I coming from? Am I coming from scarcity or abundance? Am I coming from fear or from love? Am I coming from antagonistic or cooperation? Am I coming from control or surrender? The whole ballgame is about come from. Where am I coming from? Because I'm the creator. I'm the one who gets to create my reality right now, right here. I'm the one who's creating it. So the more enlightened you get, the more you steer the ship. The more you don't settle for whatever thoughts or feelings cross your state of being. You don't just surf your Wilbur. You learn more and more to hang up the phone on Wilbur much quicker, much faster, and focus on what you really want to focus on, which is what makes your heart sing. And when you can land in that part of you, then when you can be with another human being, you can learn how to let go and surf yourself, and you take a ride that is absolutely magical. Absolutely magical. That's actually the ride that is true and authentic, that is meant to be. In the song Amazing Grace, he says, when we've been here 10,000 years, bright, shiny as the sun. Well, that's actually our real state of being. That's actually our true state of being. That's where our highest self, or God self, lives 24/7 and is looking out of our eyes all the time. But the only way we can actually get to a place where we can touch that space is these little tools and tips and tricks that I try to teach you about how to steer your consciousness, about how not to be a victim of just the silly, stupid little monkey mind thoughts that go across your mind. That's all nonsense. So, the exercise for tonight, I'm going to have you, the warm-up is I'm going to have you go from person to person. And since there's so few people, we won't do it very long. But I want you to go to each person that's here, and I want you to say, it would be my honor to help you get everything you want. And do your best to be sincere. And even if Wilbur sneaks in and tries to dismiss it or dissuade you or whatever, do your best to find that place inside of you where that's actually reality.
If I were to say it is rather than it would, is that acceptable? Or is
Yeah,
that
it's fine.
better? Okay.
It is. It's fine. It's great. Thank
Can you
you.
repeat it one more time, please?
It is or would be my honor to help you get everything you want. Okay? Great. Do it. Go from person to person.
Look it down. Look up. Just look it up. It would be my honor to help you get everything you want.
Charlie.
But my name too, okay. Yeah.
It is my honor.
wanna keep a distance, but I feel better that I could.
Just know the sound. It's my honor to see you get everything.
It would be my honor.
It's my honor to have you.
Yeah, listen, these are serious, these worse.
Really?
They tell people.
Kevin.
What day is
Be
it?
my honor.
Okay, Kevin, it is my honor to help you to get everything you deserve.
Do I say it again?
Okay, Kevin, it is my honor to help you to find everything you want and deserve in this lifetime. Cheers. Thank you.
Sickness.
Neener, I hate it first.
I tell you.
Whoa, I figured
It's okay.
last is best?
That works for me.
We're doing things. It would be my.
How are you?
We're supposed to say, my pleasure, my honor to support you in getting everything that you want, desire, and deserve.
Trent. It's my honor.
Thank you. I know. Yeah, we did a talent show thing.
You're not holding him to it.
Good stuff.
Danielle, it is my honor to help you get everything you want.
Okay, Morris, it's only inner circle tonight. Come up here.
You
gotta
get those two.
big
Let
ones.
you go first. I'll wait.
The in crowd.
Nice jacket.
Morris. It's my honor. I hope you
I have to get this sharp, I have to get this sharp. Everything's like, I actually got this to borrow. I couldn't even check it on my character, so I wasn't stop. These doctors had too many. Chargers.
It's my honor to be your friend. Yeah.
Chargers.
To help you get everything you want.
My dog was with me. There was like 5 people during my Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. It was awesome.
Nice to see you.
They told me,
Where's
they said,
that?
whatever you have to do.
right here.
Yeah, cool. Put it outside. I have to tell you, it's a good book. Still good.
So I got,
Morris Angelo.
Pleasure to meet you.
I got, it's worth the price of admission for the quote he shared.
Actually, now that we've done the warm-up, and what I shared before the warm-up was a setup for the warm-up, so now I want to hear back what I told you before the warm-up. I want you to say back to me what I said to you, what I taught you, so I can see how it went in.
You don't have to go looking for love when love is where you're coming from.
Yes, that's a quote from Werner Erhard.
Nothing to quote.
That's right. But in your own words, I want to hear
Oh, my own words.
what I told you before the warm-up, so I can see how you take it, how you interpret it.
Centering oneself and coming from a state of peacefulness, the intent of helping another person achieve their goal is much more evident when you look into their eyes and you're coming with that intention. Because they feel it. I've had people say, I feel it. And I felt it from others when they said that they would be willing to help me achieve my goal. Because of the sincerity in their heart and their centeredness.
Good. That's a good interpretation, okay? Good. Elisa?
It is by seeing the magnificence in others that I land in my Christ self.
Yes. Yes. It is by seeing the magnificence in others that lands you in your Christ-like self. Seeing the magnificence in others is the vehicle for coming home. And to be able to do that, the less grounded, centered, present you are, the less you can see magnificence in others. The more centered, grounded, present you are, the more you can see the magnificence in others. Good. Good. Question?
Oh, I was just gonna.
Yeah, comment?
Keep feeding back. Did
Yeah,
you want
yeah.
more? or-
Yeah, I do want more.
Coming from love changes everything.
Yep. Everything.
And the other thing you said that stands out is that slowing down is the catalyst. It's the,
Yes.
it really facilitates accessing
Yes.
that part.
Yes. I think one of the wisest things I ever did for myself was when I learned the 4 steps from Magical Realms. I needed another name for that. That's too, yeah.
Wonder is something.
No, I mean, the 4 steps, you know what I mean? I need a name that says the power of it, because it's just too boring to say the 4 steps. But when I did that, I mean, I was so excited about those 4 steps that basically for the next 3 years or something, when I had free time, all I wanted to do was get with people that I knew could be present, and I would do the 4 steps. And the best part of that was that I learned how to get to absolute zero. Now, it would take me an hour to an hour and a half to get there, but once I got there, miracles, magic, revelations, it was amazing. And the best part of that now that I realize is that by doing it so much for 3 years, not only has it become part of my normal being, like when I'm out with anybody doing anything, I can't help but do the 4 steps. I do them automatically. I don't even have to think about it. It's just part of me. But the absolute zero part, getting to a place where my body could actually taste absolute zero more than a few times, got it so that my body now has body memory. It knows that place. It knows when I'm close to that place. It knows when I'm getting in the neighborhood. And that's a huge guide for me now whenever I'm doing a be with somebody, whenever I'm being intimate with somebody. I mean, what I'm really describing right now is the mastery of romantic intimacy. It is literally the mastery of romantic intimacy. Be interesting to see if I can, no, it'll be interesting to see when I learn how to teach that. Okay, next process. I want everybody to stand up behind your chairs, and I'm gonna have you do Stance of a Warrior. Now, the main reason for starting off with this tonight is just to remind ourselves that no matter what circumstances are in your life, you know, you're broke, love of your life leaves, whatever, that you're in charge of your state of being. You're the one who's in charge. So get into a stance of a warrior when I call your name, then you, as loud as you can, yell, "I'm here and I'm ready." Okay? Go ahead, get into your stance. Now you'll notice some of you will have a hard time even getting in a stance. If you stand so powerfully you feel like you're being foolish, you're almost there. Okay. Angelo.
I am here and I am ready.
Good. Trent.
I am here and I am ready!
Good job. Danielle.
I'm here and I'm ready!
Good job. Elisa.
I am here and I am ready!
Good job. Okay. Morris.
I'm here and I'm ready!
Excellent. Kevin.
I am here and I am ready!
I think he rang the bell. Acknowledge everybody. Have a seat. Now, the reason we moved Movement to Mastery from Thursday to Wednesday this week is because tomorrow night is Jeremy's celebration of life, which I assume most of us will be at. And when I heard about that, it did several things for me. It put in perspective how important this work is. More in these times than in previous times. From my point of view, what people call the veil is getting thinner, which means more people have access to the spirit realm. There's lots of evidence of love and light exploding on the planet, but there's also evidence of the dark exploding on the planet. You know, both are magnifying. So tonight's content that I've had in the manual forever is even more important, significant, and precious. And after I get done with the normal content that we do, I'm going to do some stuff that I usually save for the advanced leaders about energetic protection. Okay? Here's a quote from St. Paul. Have you in the same mind as Jesus, who being in the form of God did not consider it robbery to be equal to God? Good quote. Have in you the same mind as Jesus, who being in the form of God did not consider it robbery to be equal to God? Now, one time, my sister wanted me to do a workshop down with, where she was at, her and my sister Roseanne. We're at a place called the Center for Feeling Therapy in Los Angeles. And I found out that these therapists were, to my mind, they were the greatest therapists alive at the time. They had worked under the giants. In those days, in the late 60s, the giants of the time were like Fritz Perls, who invented Gestalt therapy, Virginia Satir, who was recognized as probably the greatest therapist alive, and Milton Erickson, who was the greatest hypnotherapist that ever lived, and, you know, miracles. And these guys had worked under all of them. Matter of fact, several of them had been through primal therapy with Janoff and Mel Wasserman, my mentor, his brother had helped Arthur Janoff create primal therapy, Mel's brother. So when I went down to the Center for Feeling Therapy, my therapist, Steve Gold, was actually the guy who worked with John Lennon to do primal therapy, right? So I'm at this workshop doing these intensives with these great therapists, and I'm watching some woman have a really hard time to talk about what she considered to be her big hang-up. And suddenly I had a revelation, and I saw the energy of what I was seeing. She thought her biggest hang-up was being overly critical. And what I got was that at the bottom of that was a great gift, strength, and talent called sensitivity. Because she was so extremely sensitive. You notice that whoever's in an office that gets labeled the asshole or the bitch, right? That they are the people who will strike out before you have a chance to strike them out. You know what I mean? And so they're extremely sensitive. Well, in that moment, what I saw was that human beings, they have these, imagine that when you're born, you have these great gifts, strengths, and talents, and they stick out from your body like energy, cords of energy that stick out a certain distance. And then life, parents, teachers, kids at school slap them down, and as life slaps you down, that energy goes in the opposite direction as what we call hang-ups, shortcomings, weaknesses, challenges, barriers, obstacles. But in that moment, I saw the perfection of human beings. I saw that human beings do not have hang-ups. Human beings are perfect. And I literally wanted to stand on a mountaintop and go, oh my God, guess what? There is nothing wrong with us.
So your hang-ups are actually your strengths turned backwards.
Yes,
So a person being hypercritical is actually hypersensitive.
yes, yes. So, what if every problem, upset, self-defeating behavior, or so-called hang-up in reality is a great strength, gift, or talent, which is simply being blocked from expression? What if every hang-up that people criticize them for simply represents bottled up energy? The same energy that's being pulled back like a slingshot in a self-defeating direction can be let go of, fly that far or farther in a self-empowering direction. What if all human defenses or dysfunctional behaviors, self-invalidating mechanisms, are merely indirect ways of requesting something very positive, sweet, and wonderful? What if every human imperfection is the suppression of our perfect nature? What if every vicious, mean, or apparently uncaring behavior, when boiled down to its essence, carries a sweetheart message, within it a message of love? The more direct the message from its true form, from love, the more distorted and destructive the delivery. Each of us is in essence a sweetheart, even the most distorted. What if every pain, agony we feel is the exact reflection of how sensitive we are, of how much we care, of how delicate, tender, and full of heart we are? What if the greater the turmoil, the greater the reflection of our sensitivity, our magnificence? What if our pain, our agony is the exact reflection and proof of your immense goodness and inner beauty? What if the one who acts like I don't care is the one who cares too much? What if the one who is most critical is the one who's labeled the witch or the jerk, is the one who comes across sharp and prickly because they are so soft and tender on the inside? What if shyness covers the strength of clarity and sensitivity? If I put a shy person in a room of people, and I want to know what's happening with anybody across the room, I just have to ask the shy person. They know more than anybody in the room. What if the worrier actually has the ability to concentrate and with focused action can create results? What if loneliness is the ability for deeper relating? As I'm going through these, if you have questions, don't be afraid to ask.
Will you repeat that last one?
What if loneliness is the ability for deeper relating? What if guilt is unexpressed power, the ability to get back on track and go the distance?
What is shame
Very similar.
to guilt?
Yeah, very similar to guilt. Shame is like an existential, maybe it's true that I'm bad. Look what I did. I must be bad. In order to not want to be bad, you must be incredibly good to not want to be bad.
That kills me.
What if blamers actually have the ability to make life better? What if frustration is the electrical juice to ignite committed action? One of the reasons I wrote the book is because I wanted to start with fundamentals, the basics. Because I wanted to show people that there are basically 7 things that people do that get them from the theater of fear over to the theater of love. So I put those in the book. But this is what I also put in the book. All of the things that are the strengths behind the weaknesses and the shortcomings. What if underneath the depression is the power to create a new level of meaning in life? I've taken clients who were on depression medication for years, and using today's innovative tools, I got them feeling so much better that within 2 months they were off all of their meds. I had one client who, had been on serious depression medication for years. And within the first session, I could tell that what was driving the depression was that depression, think of depression as your body takes in feelings. It's like a tube. So in essence, what your body is a tube. You take stuff in, you digest it, and then you express it. Well, what happens if you block the expression? You're emotionally constipated, and your body can only handle so many feelings, and then your body has to shut down. That's what depression is.
Oh my God.
So I could hear that she had a lot of unspoken resentment about her mom, who had an issue with drugs. So I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to put a chair in front of you, and for 5 minutes or more a day, 5 to 10 minutes, I want you to point your finger out and say, Mom, I resent, and I just did it with her enough to get her going. I said, but do this every day, because you're going to notice it's going to make a big difference, right? So the first week she came back, she felt, I feel better. I feel better. I said, good, good. Next week she came back, she goes, I feel a lot better, By the 3rd or 4th week, it was obvious to us that she was feeling so much better, she didn't have to use the medication. And within 2 months, she was medication-free, okay? And as I've worked, I'm really good with depression clients, because mostly all it is suppressing their emotions. They're not moving their emotional energy, okay? And the other thing that gets people depressed is when the old life isn't cutting it anymore. Like, they know their old life. Yeah, it's been good, but where's the juice, But the new life hasn't shown up yet. And they're in this limbo place. And it gets depressing. Once again, they are not expressing their emotions. If they continue to move their emotional energy, they would actually move the energy enough that the new life would start to show up. And then they start to get a little, ooh, that feels good. I like this new life. And they start to move in the right direction, right? But if you know, most human beings that I know are very capable of staying in the same crapola for years. Years. You know what I mean? They can, I shouldn't rock the boat. Everybody else is doing it. If I leave this, then, I won't have, And so they keep the agony and the pain consistently staying in the same place. What if anxiety is actually the power to accomplish? What if the secret weapon to losing weight is to own the gift within the weight, which is the great gift of unexpressed wanting? And once people match the expression to the wanting, the weight could fall off. Like 1 year in Movement to Mastery, I had something like almost a third of the whole group lose somewhere between, I can't remember how much. Hello, Luxley.
Hey, Leslie.
Hey, Dan.
You're here.
Yes, sir.
In one Movement to Mastery group, I had like a third of the group lose between 25 and 90 pounds. And what they really got better at was expressing their wanting. Whenever I do a soul reading on somebody who's significantly overweight, it's obvious how big their soul is, how much their soul is, how much they want. And I usually start with them by saying, you want everything. You want it for everybody, and you want it now. And I tell them what a great gift it is that they want so much. What if those with the self-doubt that perhaps they are stupid are often the most brilliant in the room? What if those that have the secret fear that they are unlovable are actually the most lovable people in the room? What if your greatest self-doubts are actually the exact opposite of your true, magnificent self? What if the Wizard of Oz was right? What if the greatest challenges are our greatest gifts, and our greatest gifts are already within us? It would mean that ultimately there are no real weaknesses, no real hang-ups, no real self-defeating behaviors. Ultimately, there is no real bad news. That what we view as hang-ups are in truth tremendous psychological strength which have simply have not been allowed to express themselves. Once the strength is utilized, given the room to express itself in one's life, the so-called hang-up literally disappears.
So this question is from Brett Butterfield, that's
Yeah.
watching the live streaming.
Yeah.
I think it's for me. He said, if overweight is unexpressed wanting, what is being too skinny?
I actually believe that's a misnomer. The only time that's a real challenge is when somebody's doing anorexia, nirvana, that kind of thing. That's an issue. But like, you're very thin, but that's not a hang-up. There's nothing, that's a neutral. That's not a hang-up or a challenge, or, you know what I mean?
I'm assuming maybe he means anorexia. I was trying
Well,
to
for
figure out.
anorexia nervosa, that's basically an image problem. They their belief is so out of whack, their self-concept is so out of whack with reality that no matter how much they lose, they think they're too fat.
The body dysmorphia, it's also if you're too, you wanna get bigger and bigger and bigger because you think you're not strong enough.
You're just obsessed with the way you look.
Yeah, so one example of a strength of anorexia nervosa would be that they care so much about being loved. They want to be loved more than anybody. So I'm gonna make a proposal. Very simple, you are magnificent. You are a unique expression of a perfect love. Sometimes you express that perfect love imperfectly. You are the love which is perfect, not the expression which is often imperfect. Okay. Get a partner and share with your partner any thoughts or feelings about this little chat I've done with you.
I'll take you, Lisa, when she comes back. You can't wait on
Okay,
that.
okay, all right. I'll go.
Right.
Some chair. It's clear example is
Service stuff because
I'm brilliant. And I've always thought I was stupid. And so therefore, if someone wasn't at least as smart as me, I thought they were really stupid. And that would like come across. I'm like, you couldn't think of what I thought of?
Well, your parents would.
You're oh dumb shit. Not really realizing that I'm a smart mofo. And a lot of people are this way. And it shifted.
Well, just all of it. It's like a special
And
thing.
like culturally, it seems like the message is, you know, by owning your strengths, that's
I think I'm just expecting too much of myself.
evil. That's egotism, that's proud, that's
No, not as much.
it's
about
elitist
the class,
or
just
whatever.
my personal problems.
And I found for me, it's that exact opposite. It's softens me.
I too grew up thinking I was really stupid. My dad would, you know, I one time like grabbed the wrong wrench for him, yelled at me, he's God, I'm stupid. I must be really fucking stupid for dad to talk to me like that, you know? And so
So I've just been
but I
kind
was the
of
guy who would always find hacks
Yes,
in
those-
class, like the ditto machine.
I know, but I haven't learned
On
enough yet to,
bottom there
like,
was a code,
you know,
tell the answers.
talk
I was
myself
like
out of it.
8 years old, and I figured out this code, so I could just go write all the answers. And the teacher would be like, like I was saying, which literally I couldn't, but it was just easier to do, because they were all letters, and I just figured out what letter was what number, and it's like, all the answers, so I would always do that, figure the shortcuts, or be in school and already know it, so I'm bored. And then I'm manifesting all the Fs and, you know, Ds and stuff, because it's so bored. Like one of us was changing in school. Also, like we said about your strengths, I don't really do that because of that myself.
I just want it all right. And I want it to go smoothly and perfectly.
No pain and,
Sometimes I just,
you've given birth, we're gonna have that pressure, so it'll stop eventually.
I just,
You really could go back
It'll
before.
stop eventually.
He goes back, like cousin was talking about, and you forget the pain. So they told you, forget about it, and you can't, but
except for maybe
Even race
playing
like that.
sports, playing basketball.
like when it was pastor even now.
In the past. But even now.
I've sent Anna the link.
I'm just like, if I know, I just feel like I know where I'm at, and I don't feel like I need to express that to anybody else. But it still doesn't feel right for me to be like, oh, well, I'm a better speaker than you, or I'm better at math than you, or comfort level. It like feels like there's some sort of demeaning to somebody else, I guess.
One of my fundamental dominoes.
You wanna talk to Trent, you can. 'Cause at least you can,
Oh, you're sharing, Danielle?
I can
Say,
Angela, you are
I'm a man.
tremendously gracious.
I'm very sensitive, very
Because
sensitive.
I wouldn't.
was that.
Well, you know,
I
I
appreciate
know you've been waiting there in the
You
rafters.
being bigger than.
Tried to like.
I'm assuming that Elisa will come back.
And so it came
Well, she's
through
potty
in a
trained.
whole big way.
All right, so tell me what you told Angela.
You know what?
And I'll respond in a better way.
Owning
I thought you and I did an awakening together. We
We
could
should
last
just
two
done-
together.
We should have just done the
Look at
three-person
this, man.
discussion. Trying to be careful with
They
my
would
words.
actually say.
Yeah, be careful.
Like, say that.
I think
You
what
know,
you
and
what
I
you
like
stated.
try to
was
pretend
the
that I wasn't
the
going
negative
on,
flip
but,
and the positive.
You know.
So
You did think about it,
Actually,
you really sit down and really stop for a minute and think about when somebody does something to you. Where it's
Recognize
coming
you
from.
as somebody that
You know,
does
it's
something.
fascinating.
Like
We
if I'm
did-
in
we
the
did look at it
If
that
it
way.
becomes an issue.
And
No.
Let me,
I make something.
Christmas is very special this year, my family, so.
It's clearly better than, or
Why
I never,
Merry Christmas?
say I remember something that Megan
Fit.
didn't
Things
remember.
can't go
give me like one example of the extra stuff.
Me and my cousins, or my brother and sister, we got into a hideous fight.
We've given up on
And then the
this
next day, we both stopped, we
idea
both
that
backed off, like, we, yo, that takes a few
sometimes
minutes.
other people are better
Then
than us,
just-
sometimes we're better than other people. That's how it works.
We both, right,
We all
we both
go
came
back
back,
and
and then we
forth.
were actually centered, and we actually were able to talk. Because when we were going at it, it was like the typical Italian free for all. And it got
In
ugly.
that context, sounds kind
It
of.
was almost like we weren't gonna talk to each
Oh,
other
it
for the
is.
rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, wrap it up.
Interesting though, definitely. So the centering has
It
been
changes
helpful.
the energy 24/7, even though we do it.
Did you get that from here?
No, I got it from Five Below.
Oh, yeah?
They don't have them here. I wish they
Okay,
did.
I'm gonna read you a quote. This is something called "Love is the Truth." Truth without love is a lie. Love is the truth. Spend your time only with those who love you. Seek out the truth only from these. Love without truth is a lie. Truth is love. The truth of those who loves you gives you the space to be. Given the space to be, we can learn how to be. We can learn the true nature and joys of being. In the joys of being, all things will come to you. All love, all wisdom, all success will come, and only to the extent that you can learn true being. Being is not trying to be anything. Being is the essence of play. To play is to be. Being is freedom, no matter the cage or limitation. Being is fulfilled while it includes all thoughts and feelings and gets stuck in none. Being is self, the individual self that is the channel to the infinite, absolute self. It is by being true to oneself that we access the door, the channel to infinite self, to the source of all being. In being, every right now is a sacred privilege. In being, every right now is an opportunity to love. That was from my favorite author. Now,
Thank you.
Do you not know this?
No, I wasn't here for the thing. I wasn't here for.
I thought it was
that.
Carlos Castaneda.
That's what I thought it was too, but you read the, I wasn't here during the reading.
you know,
Emerson?
one of the sweetest things that Jeremy ever did for me was when we were working in one-on-one sessions together, he bought me, because he knew how much I love Carlos Castaneda, right? He found an original copy, hardbound copy of a signed copy of a Carlos Castaneda book.
Wow.
Now, I don't know how much that cost, but you can bet it was a pretty penny, you know what I mean?
So sweet.
So, like I said, now I'm gonna teach you about energetic cautions and unhealthy attachments, okay? And like I said, typically this is saved for the advanced leaders, but in the last few years, I keep noticing the need to teach everybody. Now, in the early years of my work, I got a lot of criticism for being too cosmic, too spiritual, you know what I mean? Too woo-woo, you know what I mean? And so I save that for certain times, like at the awakening. I don't do it in front of the whole room anymore. I take people off for lunch if they want to hear some of the mystical stories and stuff, you know? And for the general, I just do this, but I believe now it's time to actually share with people some of the cautions. Now, how many of you have done some version of energy work, you know, auras and chakras and things like that? Okay, good, so almost everybody. Okay. Now, 10 or 20 years ago, if I had somebody in my awakening who actually had access to the spirit world, like they could talk to people who'd passed over, or they saw spirits or heard spirits or whatever, it was an anomaly. It was like, ooh, how, you know. In the last 4 or 5 years, we've had between a fourth and almost a half of the group in the awakening who has those abilities, who either hears spirits or sees them, okay? When this happened to Jeremy, it solidified my thoughts because I realized people now need energetic protection as much as ever. And tonight is an experiment to see if this is gonna work. So when I heard about Jeremy, I looked to see how this could be possible. I mean, how could this happen to such a beautiful spirit? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know anybody else in my organization who was more loved, respected, admired, you know what I mean? He was everybody's favorite. How could that happen to him? And, you know, even before I do this, I want to say, I'm not an expert in this stuff. I've learned a lot from the people I've known over the years who were pretty expert at it, pretty brilliant at it. So I've picked up some things over the years. But I just want to clarify and let you know, I'm not an expert at this stuff. Anyway, when I heard about Jeremy, I looked to see how this could happen to such a beautiful spirit. And if it could happen to him, it could happen to anybody. So when I heard a tidbit of what he wrote, it confirmed my take that he was not in his right mind when he did this. That was obvious to me. So I'm going to draw you a picture. Of how the body works. This is someone, okay, and that's a physical body, okay? Now, around them, they have what's called the ethereal body, what some people might call a spiritual body, okay? Around that is an aura. Okay? Now, what marijuana does to that, and this is according to people I know who see those bodies in people, is it does this. It's like fuzzy holes, okay? Now, there are different kinds of, now, some people call these negative energies, TBM calls them unhealthy attachments, you know, some people call them dark spirits, Carlos Castaneda would call them inorganic beings. Doesn't matter what name you aspire to them. Basically, what it means is that there are energies that can then, see, when you make a fuzzy above your crown chakra, it means that you have access to spiritual stuff, and insights, ahas, discoveries, etc., but you also have access to negative energies.
Is that all drugs or just marijuana?
I'm going to go through some.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah. This is what marijuana does. Okay? And so what happens is, let's say something gets in, and now he's kind of lodged somewhere in your body. Those are called placeholders. You could think of them as minor negative energies. But the next time life slaps you in the face, next time you get devastated by something, anything, or the next time you do something you feel guilty for or ashamed of, okay? These placeholders call in the big guns. Now they call in really big spiritual energies, and now they can attack you directly. And the way Carlos Castaneda describes these kind of beings is that they feed off of your fear. So whatever fear, doubts, stuff you're thinking, they will take it and magnify it. You have a thought, magnified, exaggerated to the hilt. You know, you have a thought like, gee, I'm really not doing so good lately. And then they'll come in and magnify it. Now you're just like the lowest thing on the planet. You see what I'm saying?
And you start getting weird thoughts in your brain.
Yes, actually, the way that I personally have learned to know when I've got one of these silly little things attached to me is because I'll be walking along in my day, right? Doing what I'm doing, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, some weird, dark thought pops in my head, and it's extremely dark and out of place. Like it's not with anything I've been thinking. It's just, where the heck did that come from? You know what I mean? Like, so if there's a thought that pops in my head that seems a little dark or a little out of place, I don't even take a chance. I get rid of it instantly. And in a little while, I'll teach you some of the minor tools on getting rid of it. There are minor tools and there are major tools. Now, let me show you what oh, by the way, when you're trying to clear these energies out, okay, if you run white light through every part of your body, it can clear them out. But no other color works. You can run any other color, it doesn't work. You know, like some styles of protection will have you put a golden ball of energy around you and that kind of thing. Well, the reason why I run white light whenever I'm concerned is because, like, you guys have seen me do visualizations where I'll have you run liquid white light and I'll say it goes in the top of your head and it goes through your eyes and your nose and your ears and your mouth and the back of your head, the center of your head, and then I go through the whole body, all the way down to your toes. That's because I want to make sure the next thing we're going to do, I'm not messing with that stuff. Okay.
Gary,
Yeah.
I really have to run to the bathroom,
Yeah.
and I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Just maybe do your best.
Okay.
To
Yeah.
do some fluff or something.
Yeah. I'll take questions. I'll take questions about anything I've said so far. Go
You
ahead,
said that
Angela.
there's different drugs do different effects on you. Because I had an issue with one type of drug, and I know people who are spiritual and stuff tell me this particular drug, what it does, like you're saying, it brings not only the good, but also the real negative stuff into you.
That's right.
I had issues with suicide myself about 2 years ago. So I know, I totally understand this. It just, I'm wondering if it's certain drugs are worse than others, or if it's just even alcohol, or even cigarettes, I mean, anything. What is it that would, what's the, how do I put this, Benny? What is the severity of the different drugs, and just keep your body totally clean as possible, but what is the severity of caffeine, of
I got it.
nicotine?
I got it. There was a guy who wrote a book. Actually, it was the very first book about somebody who died and then came back, you know? There's dozens of them. But this was the very first one, and it might have been Return from Tomorrow, or something like that.
Wired or something.
It was a psychiatrist, and the book starts off with somebody coming into his office saying, I just got really bad news, I found out that I've only got 6 months to live. And he says, okay, then the real work begins now. And the guy's like, 6 months left to live, what kind of real work do I got, you know? And so the psychiatrist tells him the story, which the book is about how when he died one time, some being took him on a journey, and he took him to like a house where somebody had committed suicide, and the person was in a loop, and he was following his parents around. I'm so sorry, and then, you know what I mean? And he didn't know that he was in a loop and he was stuck, right? For God knows how long. Then he took him to a bar, and he said, now watch. And somebody passed out, and all these spirits wanted to be the first to jump in his body, because they wanted to be the very first ones to get in his body to experience the physical realm. So when people pass out from alcohol,
Another energy comes in.
yeah, they're just waiting for the opportunity, right? That's why they love bars, right?
George Ritchie, Return from Tomorrow.
Return from Tomorrow, excellent, George Ritchie. I'm so glad, because I couldn't find it the other day. Thank you. Now let me show you what morphine does.
Wait, which one's this one?
Morphine.
Or opiate.
Is it, yeah, opiates?
I don't know about opiates, I just know morphine does that. And I know that when people go through surgery, anesthesia can do something similar. I had a friend, at one point who went to surgery, and a couple of days later I called him up and said, how you doing, buddy? And he goes, well, I must be hallucinating or something. I don't know what's going on, because I keep seeing these guys that look like lizards and stuff. And I went, oh, shit. There's a group called the reptilians. And most energy workers know that, anybody here remember Star Trek Next Generation? Right? Do you remember the Borg?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You could call them the Borg of the universe, okay? So I said, JJ, immediately call Megan or Brian Spackman and have them get this out of you. You know what I mean? So that's why surgery can be, you know, because anesthesia will do something like that. So I always tell anybody, like I had a really good friend of mine who went through surgery recently, and she knows about TBM, so the moment she got done with the surgery, she called up another TBM worker, says, okay, I want you to clear everything out and fill up the holes and all that stuff, right?
So what about like sleeping? Because it sounds like, you know, when you're subconscious mind.
No, sleeping isn't the same. Your ethereal body and your physical body and your aura are still intact as long as you haven't done something to create holes in them.
Even if you're like depressed and you oversleep, too much sleep.
Not necessarily. I mean, if you're depressed, I would definitely see somebody to get out of the depression, and I would definitely go to any person who knows this stuff and knows how to get that out of your system so that you're not being bothered by that. You don't need any extra weight on you. You see what I'm saying? Like, tonight, I'll give you just a real simple technique or method, but with the advanced leaders, I'm gonna kind of give them some in-depth stuff. And there are some tools that are master level tools that I can't even teach most of you guys. Like, there's very few people I can teach these, the highest level of tools to. Because they're, you can't give 4-year-olds a gun, you know what I mean? And until, like Zen is a good example, she's great with energy, but I can't give these higher level tools to her yet because she's not grounded enough. You know what I mean? So it takes a high level person to be grounded enough to be able to have the master level tools. I'll teach you some tonight that are just basic, okay? Now, we don't know yet what ayahuasca or psilocybin mushrooms or LSD or other hallucinogenics do. But I strongly suspect that what may have happened to Jeremy was that he did ayahuasca last summer. And he might have had some placeholder energies attached to him. And then recently, when something negative happened, then they brought in the big guns. Because it's very clear to me that he was not in his right mind,
So
okay?
he had to have that removed. It'd have to be like either TBM or something.
If he would have gone to Laura, or any TBM person, and said, you know, I just got done doing this highway. See, and when I went to South America, and we did ayahuasca with people, the shamans will pray for 2 days over the plant so that no negative energies can come around. Okay? I've been hearing friends of mine who've been doing ayahuasca recently locally, and I don't like the stories I'm hearing. I don't think most energy workers believe their own stuff. They believe that everything that they do is law, and I don't buy it. I have friends of mine who are good enough at energy work that when somebody who thinks they're brilliant at energy work starts making comments, they'll look at me and like roll their eyes. Like, yeah, this person doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. You know what I mean?
It's really scary.
I know, they're making stuff up. So here's a quote that Kevin shared with me that comes from Carl Jung. Carl Jung is one of my all-time favorite psychological heroes. Him and Freud they actually did work with each other for a while, and then Freud got too scared, and so then he stopped doing it. But this is a quote from Carl Jung. That is the mistake Aldous Huxley makes. He does not know that he is in the role of the sorcerer's apprentice who learned from his master how to call the ghost but did not know how to get rid of them. It is just as if a surgeon had never learned further than to cut open a patient's belly and to leave things there. When one gets to know the unconscious contents, one should know how to deal with them. That's a quote from Carl Jung. Now, Johns Hopkins is doing scientific research. If any of you have seen the movie at the Broadway called Fantastic Fungi, it shows how Johns Hopkins is doing research with certain mind-enhancing compounds that have a therapeutic effect on things like alcoholism, anxiety, depression, okay? And they're really doing some amazing research on things like, you know, psilocybin mushrooms and other things, right? But scientific research under specific conditions is not the same as recreational use by the normal population. You gotta get that, you know? So if you know people who use marijuana, who've done ayahuasca, psilocybin mushrooms, LSD, or anything like that, okay? Please, please, please have them see Laura or a TBM expert or, you know, somebody who, see, Laura has very special gifts, and it allows her to see the holes in somebody's ethereal bodies. She can see those. So if you have friends who do that kind of stuff, get them to come to her so that she can fill up the holes and prevent what we believe happened to Jeremy. She also has a protocol that only takes a few minutes to eliminate any suicidal ideation. TBM has a great protocol for that. If anybody I know of has suicidal things going on, I instantly tell them, please go in and see Laura. You know? Okay, question?
I just want to share, I saw Laura about a month or so ago. I want to share that I had a crystal meth problem for a few years, and she helped me through it. She was able to remove, I haven't had cravings for a while, but she said there was still some things that were still
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
And she helped me through that, so I would highly recommend if there's anything. I felt a lot better afterwards. I've been
Yeah.
feeling great for the last 2 months, so I think I definitely would recommend it if everybody needs it, or you know somebody who needs it who's had a problem with addiction.
A big reason why I'm doing this little spiel with you tonight is because if Jeremy would have known to go see Laura after he did ayahuasca, that might have been avoided. So I'm telling you guys, just please spread the word if you know people, because it happens to be a thing that's happening now in Salt Lake. People are doing ayahuasca and, you know, mushrooms and other stuff. If you know people like that, please, please spread the word and tell them when you do that kind of thing, go see somebody who can fill up the holes and make sure that you're back to normal. Okay? Okay. Pair up and share any thoughts or feelings about what I've been telling you. Go.
Sounds right. I did, shake Jerry's shade. And it was Sean
Best thing is
Nigeria.
Gary said to me,
She's
ever
very, very careful with.
need to be embarrassed because there's nothing you've ever done to be ashamed of. He kind of disappeared on me this last year. And,
I think Laura, in order to do that, we have to stop and then restart the live streaming, and then we'll create sections, and we can have just the pieces of
of course, he
with
would
the live stream. As far as what we're going to do, if we download that video, then we can edit it any way that we want.
Oh, okay, good. After you download it, you can edit it.
And there, I mean, I'm talking from a very limited, experience with the YouTube.
It's my understanding.
There's a way with what we have to edit it
Okay.
after the fact, to look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Still just, transparency.
Do you want to send that piece specifically to people, Gary, or?
Specifically that piece.
To a certain degree, I guess.
Yeah, it was interesting because I could recreations to be stuff, I got it really early on how it was mistake. It's almost like a thing that you have to be informed by her to do so much. So I feel like I experienced that like
For some reason, the ayahuasca thing affecting him a year and a half later doesn't resonate with me.
I got some with that shamanic.
But I too don't know about
It was interesting how careful they were with our energy, making sure it was positive. I was before during these happening, but it was very positive, a lot of information. How we can use it
To set this mess up.
How long ago did you say it was that Gary moved into it?
Just this last summer.
Oh, this last one night. He's come up with a year and a half. And so that could make sense.
And he didn't know that, he knew that Laura didn't like that kind of stuff, so he never told her. That's why.
Probably a local type of thing, like without as much guidance.
And I don't know that that's what happened. I'm just saying, if,
It's a possibility.
from my experience with my stuff, certainly, if it's not that kind of protection, it's easy for me to see. I mean, from what I
Plus, in
remember.
the absence of any other, I mean, I've been following suicide for a long time. And just read about it and learn about it and what contributes to it. I mean, this has been a big focus of mine.
Yeah.
And like, none of the flags were there. That was the thing, that was so.
Right, right.
It just,
It was completely out of the blue. It was like, nobody had any, none of the symptoms, none of the signs. That's what makes me, like, well, the other thing is, I looked and I thought about it, and I thought, I could have had a couple of things happen. And then after I had these thoughts about what could have happened, I had 3 different people who are energy workers saying similar things. Like they said, it was a couple of smooth,
difference as it comes to operations and doing the day-to-day.
that Jerry was being manipulated when it comes to a robot. To
How do you interact with people?
And the other people I talked to said much the same thing. Somebody texted me the day after it happened, she goes, you know, come out of the stairs. And I was like, it just matched. Okay, let's get back together. Okay, let me teach you, I'm gonna teach you a real basic tool for how to protect yourself, okay? Whenever, go ahead.
May I make a little comment?
Yeah.
And ask
Yeah.
for some help with something?
Yeah,
Now would be all right?
yeah.
One of the best things you ever said to me was something along the lines of this: Kevin, there's nothing you ever need to be embarrassed about, because there's nothing you've ever done that you have any reason to be ashamed of. And that, like, really, that was a huge game changer for me. And shame keeps us from reaching out for help. And,
It's also one of the biggest causes of suicide.
and so at any rate, one of the things I want to ask for help with, I've in the past struggled with an elitist mindset that I have felt has interfered with me connecting with people and being compassionate with people.
Yeah.
And such, to the degree that I yearn to be.
Yeah.
And when I got a tattoo years back, I felt more vulgar in a very wonderful way. I felt like I had one less thing. I used to judge people for tattoos. And so when I got a tattoo, I felt like, okay, great, I get to let go of that one. I don't have to carry that anymore. And I feel the same way about drugs. And it's, you know how strongly I feel about them and have for such a long time, that sometimes I feel like it's very clear that I had a very hard time relating with people who use drugs
Right.
at all.
Right.
And so in applying the tattoo logic, something I've thought, well, Kevin, if you did some drugs, then that would kind of like, it'd be like getting a tattoo.
Okay.
And so I've, a couple times I've like begun making plans to go down to Medellin, Colombia, and to do coke. Because it's legal there, and in talking with people, coke seems like one of the least like problematic. And Megan, she used to do coke back in her modeling days, and she liked it, and I'm like, well, we go down and snort some lines, and then I'm like, it's over. But I've never been able to land there. I haven't had peace about doing it. And so what I'm wanting is, I want to accomplish the same thing, potentially, without doing that. I mean, I can either do that, or if I want to or not, but I don't want to feel like I have to do that to accomplish what I'm wanting to.
Of course. And of course you don't
And
have to.
which is to relate to people and not come across as
Right.
better than you
Right.
because I don't do drugs and you do or have, or.
Right. Well, first of all, if there's anybody I love, I would have them avoid, cocaine, heroin, opioids, anything that is extremely addictive, because they don't know. You can do 1 or 2 or 3 times, and all of a sudden, you're over the waterfall, and it's extremely hard to get back. So I would never recommend that. But in terms of being able to not be elitist with people who do drugs and be able to love and relate to them, what you might think of is people that you know that are like your kids, or people that you love very dearly, and imagine that they're experimenting or playing with drugs or whatever, and then,
Well, my kids has been one of the ones I've had the hardest time with them. So if I imagine they're like my kids, and
yeah,
that's not gonna work so well.
right. There's a longer process that I do with people that's very much like the woman that you really enjoy, that about projections. What's the woman that you enjoy that? Oh, you do a thing every morning with people you've got issues with, and it's from this.
Oh, well, why do you love couple or self-identity? What do you call it?
No, there's a different one that I've heard you say that you do. I can't remember her name, but I've got a version of that, where you put the person that you're judging in a chair, and you judge the crap out of them, and then you put yourself in the chair, and you own the projection. And then after you own the projection, you feed back to yourself the sweetheart message of why that part of you is doing that. What does that part of you want and don't want that's good and sweet and wonderful? And then when you get done feeding back to yourself what the sweetheart message is, then you can have the other person back in the chair and feed the same sweetheart message back to them.
Sure, you're talking about Byron Katie's stuff.
Byron Katie.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's a different version of it.
Yeah.
That's right. But that's one way that you can do it in such a way that you could actually make some movement in your own internal state about your kids or anybody else.
Would you repeat the core of that again, of what I could do?
Put the person in the chair
Yeah.
and have fun judging the crap out of them, just the way it is in your head, right? Then, and maybe make a few notes, and then put yourself in the chair and say everything you just said to them to you, so you can identify the part of you that you are judging. Because it really isn't them, it's a part of you, right? Okay? Then, you say to that part of you, and when I do it, I usually like to do the part of me, I take that part of me that I'm judging, and then I take that Gary and I make him about 5 years old. And I tell the 5-year-old Gary what the sweetheart message is about why he's doing that. Like, what is he wanting that has him do that thing that I think is so silly? You see what I'm saying? And I feed back the sweetheart message to him. How good and sweet it is that he's that he wants this, and that's why he's doing this silly little behavior. You see what I'm saying? I feed back the sweetheart message to him.
To me as the judger, or to
No,
the
to-
person using
No.
substances?
So I'm judging him for doing something.
Yeah.
So then, after I get done judging him, I put me in a chair in front of me, and I say exactly what I said to him, to me. All of my judgments to me, and I own the projection. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay? Now that I've owned the projection, I say, well, what's the sweetheart message about why you're doing these things? And I feed back to myself the sweetheart message about why I'm doing these things that I've been judging. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Then I can take the other person, put him back in the chair, and then I can say the same thing to them that I said to myself, the sweetheart message.
Thank you.
Yeah. You betcha. Any questions before I move on?
Should we be acknowledging?
Acknowledge.
I think I'm clapping in my life.
Can I know what Kevin's question was? What was your question?
How to be less of an elitist.
Now, how to be with people who are using drugs even when I'm not doing drugs, without having to do drugs myself so that I can get over it.
I've had a really hard time relating with people who use drugs, either currently or in the past, like harder than anything else. And I don't want that in my space. And so I was thinking about maybe doing some drugs to just like to not be so like.
It's a really stupid idea.
And so I asked Gary for another way to accomplish the same thing, because I really don't want to, in the end, I really don't want to do drugs.
Do you know what drugs do to a TBM body? I took diflucan the other day. Holy crap, I spent all night puking it up, along with everything else. And I took diflucan 15 years ago, didn't bother me at all. Doing drugs is a really dumb idea. For you, especially, more than anybody else.
See, and Kevin was saying that he's not really looking forward to being so stupid.
Something light like cocaine, you were thinking.
Yeah.
Something light.
Yeah. I
cocaine.
mean, you know, go for the gusto, do the opioids, you know?
Okay, do heroin while you're at it.
You know, a couple of dozen times on opioids should be fine.
Kevin, you really are accurate that a TBM body can't handle things the way a different body does. It just, your body changes with TBM, and your body has been TBM clean way too long for you to go crap in.
The other thing you gotta remember is that, Angela, people like you, people like, you know, you're starting to wake up some of your intuitive abilities. Anybody who has access, who has intuitive abilities, you do not wanna
Don't
mess with
it.
drugs. You don't ever want to. Okay, I need to make some announcements so I can take a break. Okay, Master Keys to Assure Your Success is next weekend, next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, January 15th, 18th, okay? If you have some people that you'd like to see do Movement to Mastery, this is your chance to actually get them to really look at maybe joining your group, okay? And if you need some help enrolling them, contact me or any of the other people in the advanced leaders or in Movement to Mastery, and let us help you, because I can help you enroll them. Go ahead.
You're not charging Morris and I for being here tonight?
No.
And is that kind of open to anyone who's done it in the past? Are you like, I'm just wondering how much of an open door policy you
Most
have.
of the Movement to Mastery meetings, not all of them, most of them, have guests till the break. And that's just,
Well, I mean, like graduates. You know what I mean? Like, could anyone who's done movement into mastery before, or dream makers like it was when I did it, can we just come crash these meetings and you're,
until the break.
okay, so even graduates, it's just till the break. Okay.
If somebody wanted to review the program, the whole program,
Mhm.
then it's a lot less money and they have much different requirements and it's a lot easier of a program. I think Elisa's done it 3 times or something, right? Right.
I did it twice.
And have we hit the break yet today?
Not yet, I'm about to, as soon as I make some.
You're about to get the boot.
So
We're gonna go get cocaine in the
Get shown the
bathroom.
door.
Yeah, we're gonna do it without you.
We'll help you out. The question that was said earlier was, if you took the December one, are you required to take the January one, or can you just do it as a separate?
No, you don't have to do the January one, you can do just the December one.
Let's say I wanna do assisting, come a couple of nights, because I can't do the whole 4 days.
Right.
Would that be
And-
permitted?
And what I want to say about that is that, like if it was me, in Movement to Mastery, I would do all of the workshops, and I would do one-on-one, okay? When I'm in it, when I'm in the program, okay? And what I've noticed over the years is that when people come through, like I remember Brian and Jeremy and other people who come through and they were really 100%, like they would go out. They did that. They did all the workshops that came up, even though they're not required, you know what I mean? Like, there's only 3 workshops that are required, and the rest are just, you know, if you want to, you can do them, you know. But when I see people do that and dive in at that level, then it's really clear the distinction and how much more value they get. And you know, because you've done some of the workshops.
I did all of last year.
Several times.
Yeah.
And so, and you know that they're not the same.
Right.
Like, every time you do it, it's a different ballgame.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
So
know
it's
that for
worth
this
it.
particular one, I wasn't gonna, timing wise to work, but I wanted to take like maybe one evening or 2 to come in and assist.
Yeah.
But I was wondering if it was required, because I know last year when the other movement to mastery, I did one, not the other.
Yeah.
So I was just curious if it was the same way.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a question asked about that.
And we're gonna do a prize to try to get more people into that workshop. So first prize is gonna be an hour private session with either Lori or myself, or $250 off their bill. Second prize is gonna be a 1-hour set. First prize is a 1-hour private session with both Gary and Lori. So 2 private sessions. Second prize is a 1-hour session with either Gary or Lori, or $200 off your bill. Third prize is $150 off your bill, or $1,000 of tickets for loved ones to attend workshops. That make sense? Okay. Everyone who has a guest come and sign up for the course, the Master Keys or Blast Off Weekend, is gonna get a choice between a DVD or Gary's book, or the DVD called Success Beyond Sales. Okay? Good. This Saturday is Lori's Level 1 Orientation, Pathways to Healing. Matter of fact, let me see if we have any. Did everybody get these flyers last time?
With the right
about
date?
Orientation, Pathways to
Not this
Healing.
one. I got they had the wrong date, I think, at one point. This is a different one, and I have one that looks like that, but I think that was.
That flyer looks amazing and beautiful, and I'm sure all the information's gotta be absolutely
Yeah,
correct.
well, I can see that it's probably right
Let me
this
take a
time.
look at this thing.
Before it wasn't, though.
By the
Wow, I
way,
wonder who made this, this is amazing.
Fred put the flyer
So
together.
fantastic.
Especially after the first.
You've got one, honey.
It's all right.
The first time
Probably
it
got
wasn't
one.
right.
Gold leaf.
When Elisa comes back, make sure she's got
Is the time correct? Starts at 10 a.m.? Wow.
one. Yep, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Man, sensitive people get everything.
Sensitive people.
And I know it's not sensitive people, it's the 101.
Okay, the
We're
next
excited
one.
for more than just.
The next one is the coaching certification
That's the one.
workshop.
Yeah.
You guys want to see a copy?
Oh, so there's an evening and a day, okay, cool, perfect.
It's a Friday night and a Saturday.
Is this
Okay.
part of the movement to mastery or no?
It's only a part of Movement to Mastery if you're in the ultimate program.
I can't remember. The ultimate
If
had.
you're not in the ultimate.
Well, the ultimate had the spirit and the other one, right?
Yeah,
it was
Spirit
the
Love.
The ultimate, yeah. Okay.
Right. If you're not in the ultimate program, you'll get a good deal, but not as good as the other people.
Do it. This is the one that comes out rarely though, right?
Huh?
This is the one that doesn't come out that often, only when somebody takes it out.
Actually, coaching certification has not been around in 4 years.
Right, that's what I remember John saying.
It only gets put on the agenda when somebody like Zen volunteers to produce it. So it hasn't been around, just like Success Beyond Sales, you know?
Good job, Zen.
Good job, Zen. I'm gonna do it.
And by the way, that workshop, coaching certification, Coaching Miracles, when we don't have that workshop, I take one evening with you and I teach you about recreation. Don't wants and do wants, okay? And, it's a great evening. But when I get the whole Friday and Saturday to do it, I get to go through each of the different tools that are on that flyer and show you how to do don't want, do want. It's basically identify what they don't want, identify what they do want, brainstorm how they're gonna go towards what they do want, make it safe, and then make a commitment. And I take you through each of the different tools on that flyer, one at a time, and by the time you get to the third tool, like disappearing an upset or something, right? And you do it with your partner, it starts to sink in on a whole other level because you do the same thing every single time. And then by the time we get to the third tool, you're like, oh my God, it works. And you realize you've got the tool that's necessary to disappear yours or anybody else's upset with a pretty simple, user-friendly tool. Okay? Okay. Okay. And if you didn't get a new calendar from the back of the room, you definitely want to get one because it's been updated. I
So
sent
what-
everybody an email
Okay.
that, with an updated calendar, and you guys all got one. Okay, good, terrific.
Is that the email you sent out today?
It was
I got a couple.
a day or
emails from
two
you.
ago. Yeah,
I'm
probably,
ready.
yeah. If it had a calendar in it, that's it.
I just didn't want the email.
Okay. Okay, okay, we're gonna take a break, we're gonna take a 15-minute break, and we may not be here that much longer after the break, but go ahead, take a short break, and then we'll get together and do some more fun stuff, okay?
So you feel like you're an elitist, you can't talk to drug addicts? I had the same issue. My brother was a junkie growing up, and I never thought in my life that I would ever use drugs. And I was late bloomer. I was 53. I'm turning 58%. So, yeah. It was a few, it was a
You and
couple
Charlie
years.
Watts.
Could happen to anyone.
Charlie Watts, it was like in his 50s.
Could happen to anyone at any time.
What happened? The drummer for the Rolling Stones.
Using drugs late
He
in
went
life.
all of
Late in
those
life.
years, like, watch, he was in rock and roll, right? And then he had to go into rehab in his 50s.
50s, exactly. What happened?
But I
You
think
know,
it seemed like maybe he,
Well, that's how Johnny Depp decided to play the
Yeah.
pirate, was by imitating, I think, the drummer in the Rolling Stones.
no, Keith Richards.
Keith Richards.
Yeah. Well, and he and Keith Richards are like great friends. In fact, Keith Richards' biography, Johnny Depp
I
reads
believe it.
tons of it. And like if you get it on tape,
You can hear
like
it.
he narrates it.
So
It was Johnny Depp.
It's great. That's interesting.
I mean, he thinks enough of him to like read his book aloud into a microphone.
I was telling him after we do a lot of the stuff when we get back from the thing, we typically read that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Join us, if not, don't worry about it.
I agreed.
And I've got you tomorrow.
I knew you were kidding.
Yeah.
Brad's question. I never told Zen I was gonna ask
people in the
the
room,
questions
so thank
that
you
she
for letting me
keeps
touch
asking me. It wasn't my phone.
Oh, she is.
No, I
He
was not
didn't, he didn't
kidding.
let you, he didn't let you.
No, I've seriously like
So I'm
been
getting
thinking
in
about
trouble.
going down
Oh,
to Columbia.
no.
Oh, my gosh.
He actually told me
To make
this
sure
a
that we
couple of
all
months
set
ago.
the same outline.
I would not.
It's really true that Kevin is that stupid.
I would not keep bringing half. You have to be kidding me. Seriously, I can't tell you how sick I got from just taking one.
Can I ask you a question that Zen
I
had
was
asked?
dizzy.
a little
Do you
bit
need
earlier?
to stop the camera or just let it keep going?
Yeah, everything.
Work
on myself all
We can
night
just
long.
let that keep going.
Over and
Okay.
over and I
Unless
know
you
Then I
wanna
can just
stop
fast
But
forward it.
there was no one else
It'll
around.
be just one thing.
Yeah, it's like
And
one thing all the way
literally
through.
a few
Well,
years ago, 15
there was a
years ago,
technical
I took
difficulty, so
Diflucan,
the first 15
didn't
minutes is
even notice I'd
one,
done anything.
and then
But,
the rest of
yeah,
it
I
is
took a-
another.
that was done as you've been in a long time.
But yeah, then they can fast forward.
Pause it and
That
then
wasn't
start it again
impressive.
when we come back.
But
I
Yeah,
can,
that would-
if
it
you
would be
would.
a
prefer-
What
Well,
is that
actually, I don't
experience,
know
right?
if I can do that.
Okay.
And
I'm not
a
sure.
really stupid
There's a
one.
start and there's a stop, but
There's not a
If you
pause.
ever think
I'm not
that
sure.
way,
Well,
I accidentally
just, like, couldn't
caused it,
land
that's why
on
there was
yes
a technical difficulty
intellectually.
when we started, and
But I
people were saying,
couldn't
hey,
get-
the video's
I didn't
frozen.
get energetic
It was frozen for like 5 minutes when
So
we
are you
first
just wanting to
started,
get
and
high?
I had to, I don't know.
No, I just.
Reassign the source,
Well,
and then it
potentially
works,
experience
and I don't wanna
drugs.
mess with it again, because I have no idea how
I
it
want to
broke.
carry
I have
this
no idea
high-
how I fixed it.
high and mighty
I'd love to
attitude.
fix the
I wanna let
music
go
though,
of this
because
high
I'm
and mighty
missing,
attitude.
I'm missing the music.
And so he gave me another.
Zen's
Do me a
question is,
favor, when you
yes.
find out from Ennis why there's no
Because
music,
it
then
gets
let's
in the way
write
of
it
like
down.
write it
someplace.
down, you know, like a.
Yeah, you make it
Because
3
I'm
by
con-
5
Taylor
colors.
is-
I don't wanna play
you know, he
too
smokes
much,
weed every day.
because I don't know if it's the
too
software.
bad.
You know, we're gonna get together
That needs to be
tomorrow.
refreshed, restarted,
I don't mean
reset,
right now, I
or if
mean,
there's
smokes
something
weed
to
all
plug
day.
in
when you
when
find
we
But
out.
he's
yeah.
smoking weed
Let's
now.
not
He's
have
So it
it
just
Saturday
makes it
time.
easier, right, because I'm sure
Crack
that this
cocaine
has probably
version.
happened
Dabs.
before, and I was worried that we
But
unplugged
he's
something
not
during
doing
the
other
shine,
drugs. So there's
and
been some
it didn't get
improvement.
plugged back in, but I can't see anything that's
Yeah.
unplugged.
You know,
Everything
yeah.
looks
A
physically
friend
like
of mine,
it's connected,
she's,
which makes me think
she's
I might have to
porn
restart a
star.
program or restart the laptop. And
And
That's shocking.
Did you have
never
a
done
question?
her
Zen's
sister-
question was,
her
if you
sister
focus
just outed
on the
her to her
negative
dad. Her dad's
attachments,
one of the most important people.
do
in
you
the church in the
activate
United States.
them and give them more
She,
power?
we were all
That's
getting
the question.
together New Year's Eve, and
Uh-huh.
she
Okay.
reaches out to me, and she says.
And I'm not telling
I'm
people to focus on negative
emotionally
attachments, I'm
holy,
telling people
so
that
on
whenever
emotional
they
way, come celebrate with
suspect
us New Year's
negative
Eve.
attachments, they
To
get
run
rid
the
of
white
it.
light and,
Early
right,
tomorrow morning,
do
I have to fly
something that
back
works.
to my parents in Detroit and get all my stuff, because they said I have 40
Okay,
hours.
I
to
feel like that's
burn
sufficient.
everything.
She wants, if she
And,
wants more on that question. she
But
can
I
check
like,
with
but
you.
that's kind of like how I felt really
I went
about
direct
drugs,
to
and
you,
I've just,
it's
I've
okay.
been working at it for years to not be
Help
so
every month. I've managed to get off all the 26
in
of
such
the
an unhealthy way.
meds I was on with the military.
Cool.
And
When I
stayed
got
off them since
tattooed,
lava
I
last
had to get
year.
off my high horse.
And I've been reaching for essential oils.
Same now.
And then so I'm looking at all the drugs, what would be like the
You've been
cleanest?
reaching?
Like I've
Simplest
been
whatever.
using essential oils.
Cocaine was
to
the
help
one.
with my-
Plus, there's a
Right.
place you can go do
Like
it legally,
frankincense
right?
is a
In
natural
Colombia.
antidepressant.
Do pot legally in
Just drop-
California.
I'm just disappointed. Yeah, it's no different than an energy drink.
And she
Yeah.
clears me
I mean, it's
Rosetta
really
and
not,
the attachments
except for,
every
you know,
month. So it's become
addictive,
maintenance,
horrible.
and I can
And then
recognize
quality.
pretty much any
And then it
negative
makes you
thought.
feel
I used to be
numb and all
bombarded
the
with
other
them, so
stuff.
I couldn't
Right.
even tell.
But the
Yeah.
impact
Like
is
trying to
much
get my
more
head
than an
level.
energy drink. It's not, it
Okay.
really,
I
Still
tell
does.
people
your heart races and.
Technique.
yeah,
Remind me when I get back to
The
let
brain
people
isn't
know.
very happy with it, it does get stored in the brain. A lot of people that I work with, when I go to dump the drugs out of their brain, they taste the cocaine in their mouth, even after 20 years. They taste the cocaine.
I tried looking
Cocaine
for
is
it and I
one that
couldn't
just
find
gets
it.
stored in the brain,
Also, your son just went out in the
just
hallway.
an FYI.
Thank you. They call it things as well. Okay.
I had never, well, how was it,
Yeah.
where you get myself, you put on partner right now, I'm gonna be.
And I guess the concern is really just whether or not you have a brain that's gonna clean it out and it's gonna be a one-time thing. Or whether,
I pretty much already realized that, as I toyed and thought about it, I just, I was getting.
So I was
I
thinking.
think there's value in defining phone buddy game plan consequences.
Hello there.
Right, I like to look at somebody, and it's still,
Can I have one Frito?
Yeah, I talked to several of my guys.
Like I've been there, done that, and I don't like cocaine.
because he wants to help with peer
I
processing.
used to love Frito, every day.
What I had learned was
Over the top.
my phone buddy was Rita, and she and I were sometimes.
See, that's how poor feeling.
When I was in junior high, I'd stop off at the gas
yeah,
station.
that makes it more likely to want.
I get lemon pie.
You get chance to do what I would recommend.
If you've got some little pie that had lemon
So you
inside.
decided
Well,
to
what
stay away
did
from
Danielle
me?
do?
Lemon pudding.
Why, I think she had Justin, she had me, and
Oh, Justin, of course, you're gonna
between,
Justin.
between the two of us,
I've done
how can I
meetings
compete?
Wait, Justin, Jesus, I know, right?
Dear Lord, I'm just a human man. I can't walk on water.
I like him. Jesus.
That the way,
But,
By
yeah,
the way-
Justin with the long hair?
None of the files could close down on the
I
computer.
did cocaine.
You should, did you check to make sure that there's nothing on front here?
I'm
and
trying
then
to,
you tried to make them go down below, and they wouldn't go down below.
Over a year ago? Oh, yeah, that's right, you were telling me
like,
about
they
it.
And I
wouldn't
like,
get,
and I'm
like,
see,
when
that's
I
why
pressed the
haven't done it
minus, it
20
wouldn't
years,
minus
because
out. I tried it for like 5 minutes.
Huh, okay. Well, they're still up
Believe it
there
or not,
then,
I'm
right?
actually not judgmental on drugs, I feel bad for people who do. But I'm not like high horse.
TV videos, okay,
I
yeah,
am
I
high horse
think so.
judgmental on certain people, mainly really
So you
crazy
want to do
people that I
that,
hate.
start doing weekly check-ins?
Just
Yeah,
leave
you're
it
kind
alone.
of you're kind of not judgmental, gentle.
I'm not,
I mean, because
honestly.
you've always been in
What
a
our
role
goal is
with
for
me.
the weekend.
Yeah.
I already started one thing.
Yeah, no, in general, I
Except for
really
the
worry.
station that goes in cocaine.
Well, I just don't wanna, see you be an idiot, that's all. People I really enjoy because they're intelligent, and I know people who are really, really intelligent, and then they do enough drugs that they are not so fun to be around anymore.
Oh, so it's the
And so
selfish
there's a little bit of a
motives.
selfish motive in there.
They end up like Morris.
Which everybody loves to be around.
But no, I can actually really, I actually enjoy being around people, believe it or not, who are high. Not that I think it's a good idea, and I would never encourage it. But if I happen to be around them,
Once in a while, we have to do.
I'm going to go ahead and ride the
check-ins,
energy,
so that- so
not
we just get to
the
schedule
contact
whatever's
from
easiest.
smelling the smoke or anything.
I work from
I'm gonna
home every
ride
day.
their energy because I can get high like that with them.
You know how she gets high?
Like, put
Essential
10 minutes a
oils
week.
and
Check
connected
with the half,
breath,
done with this.
or crystals. If she goes to my friend Sid's house, who has these huge crystals in his office, the moment she walks in the door, she's like, she's gone.
I had an experience, about 2 months
So
ago
what'd you segue
with
then?
my former roommate.
What'd you segue?
And the girl that he was going out on a date with, they went outside, smoked some weed, and then they came and sat at the table with me.
They're big, they have the
And
hands.
it felt like I had
Okay, you roll it.
Because
Oh, yeah.
you were in their energy.
Absolutely.
but it wasn't a good thing, I didn't enjoy it.
Oh, you
at
didn't
all.
like it?
I was like, no,
In
because
Florida,
it
they
got
have
me
them get in the water.
that anxious
Oh, yeah.
feeling and stuff, and I just didn't like it.
Shoot you up the,
And I told
You-
him, I'm like, I
have you
don't
done
want
brain
it.
X-rays?
And your energy when
With
you're
someone
doing
that
it.
chooses
Scary,
cannabis
but
and
Oh, yeah.
get
Oh,
high.
yeah. I think brain X on lazy with a lot.
Well, this year, my
of people
friend
who
told
do
you about
drugs.
a
They tend
plank,
to
this guy
attract
died
drugs.
last year.
Not to do
He
drugs.
died every year.
Yeah,
for
no,
3
I
years.
think that really is
Last
it.
year,
And,
one of
I
the
mean,
instructors
even
went
like
by
he just,
himself,
I think, announced in
like
the
5
thing,
hours after
honestly,
being wet.
1-2
died.
sessions, I think, they're done. They're
Last guy
done.
died. He was
My
got in the
son
morning.
is
One of the instructors
somewhere on the
died
streets
in
right
the
now.
afternoon.
Yeah.
He hit too hard.
I think he probably has 3 or 4 drugs of choice.
So I my friends are like, well,
My son
freak
Joe.
out. I had a dream
So
last
it's too
night.
bad.
He's,
But I
yeah,
tell you,
so
it's like
where
this.
they
I
lost
need to
phone
go.
access now, so he
Yes.
knows where him and his girlfriend are right now.
Let me see it. I'm like,
Last I knew,
yeah.
they still have the
He
car.
had seen that restrictor, look, here's where that lamp is.
What's his full name?
Before we drive, before we shut out. Yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
It's, they make you sign your life away.
That would be really, really.
Yeah, if you, you know, the parachute doesn't open,
It
it's not
was
hard.
hard, I think the hardest part is just like knowing there's not a lot I can do about that when he's not willing to do
There you
something,
go.
so. But as far as, I really don't have any judgment at all, right? But it does make
It's
sense.
cost.
I have been doing that recently.
3
But
minutes.
there is a part that's just hard.
This kid, man, he's good.
It's sad.
It's cool that I watched him.
3
That
minutes.
he's struggling.
There's a kid online who was like,
I've not had a single.
there's a
He
kid
said they can
on,
make it down the mid, the whole way in 3 seconds. I can make it down in 3 seconds, but let me see it, come on.
Haven't been able to shift doing.
Put 3 minutes on it, let's watch you do it.
Oh,
All right, I want to see from Calvary County, from here to the second end.
So
Not this one,
incredibly
the one all at the end, okay?
I just did it this last week or something. Trying to think.
a couple, maybe, yeah.
I mean, it's,
shifted
it's,
things
She came for Christmas.
yeah.
wow.
Oh, yeah,
It's impressive.
yeah, I can tell you the whole story. Yeah, I mean, it's.
That's cool.
And like when Gary said, you know, when we come from love, that's the total game changer. And we, in the energetic realm, we occupy the same space. And so when I do love, color, self-identity with someone, until I'm clear, they're clear. Because we're in the same space.
I might practice that with somebody.
I'll tell you, if you're not using it much, it's a tool. But you have to do it until you're done.
I don't
And
tend
it
to
might be
conflict.
weeks.
I rarely conflict with anyone, but I have one person in my life right now that I really hate.
Well, there's not just if you're conflicted with someone, but if someone just.
Yeah, okay.
When we're
Interesting.
leaving, will you share with me
Okay.
again the color part of that? I know you've shared it with me before, but I'm not remembering.
Good seeing you guys.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you. Thank you. I'm working on it. Yes.
1 minute.
Don't get too close, I got the flu, so this guy wants to hug me. I don't wanna get anybody sick. Worry about getting anybody sick.
No French kisses?
Yeah, no kisses, you know?
Vroom, vroom, mama chicken.
I'm Danielle.
Hey, Mom, vroom, vroom, mama chicken.
Nice to meet you, Morris.
Vroom, vroom, mama chicken, real quick.
Oh,
Yeah.
Morris, Kevin, I forgot, I didn't teach you guys the technique. Do you want to stay just so I can teach you the technique and then
Yes,
leave? Or
the
do you-
energy technique.
Yeah, the energy
Yes.
technique.
Very
Very quickly.
I do want to.
I forgot to do that before the break. It'll only take you about a minute or two. So, when I have a negative thought pop in my head, I use either Jesus or God or Michael. I usually use Michael because he's my guide. And I say, Archangel Michael, please remove any negative energies or entities from all of my bodies. So write that down. Please remove any negative energies or entities from all of my bodies and seal my spirit body to all but the light. Now, a real simple protection method, and there's lots of them, but a real simple protection method is you imagine a golden ball of light around you, around your whole body, which is Christ-like love. Then inside the golden ball of light, you see a row of roses all the way around in the inside circle. A row of roses. Roses are the second highest vibration, only to pine trees. Then you put a silver film around the golden ball of light because negative energies don't like to see themselves. A mirror-like film. And then you say the same thing. Archangel Michael, please remove any negative energies or entities from all of my bodies and seal my spirit body to all but the light.
You know, Gabriel is green. What color is Michael?
I don't know.
Blue. Michael's blue.
We should-
It is blue?
Yeah.
We should ask Chantel or somebody.
Because
Sandy and I actually had that exact conversation 3 days ago.
I
when we
use
went through
Michael's
the
sword
colors.
to like sever connections outside of.
Say it again.
I use Michael's sword,
Yeah?
the blue sword, to like any,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
any cording or any
Yeah.
like connections that are around me.
When did he give you that? The sword?
Well,
Or
I
did
have
he
to
give it
think
to you,
for
or
a
did you
minute.
come up with it?
well, he has a
Randy
service.
Roberts
Gave it to you.
was.
That's the one that Laura was so impressed with?
Catalytic.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And he said, do this.
yeah. When every workshop, I take the sword out and I do what Michael told me to do, which is declare it for the light, tap the earth 3 times, and then hit the 4 directions of the room, which will keep negative energies out and magnify the intentions for the workshop. But when I'm at the awakening, I cut the cords below people's feet before they do a breakthrough, because he said that's how human beings stay attached to their barriers. So before everybody has a breakthrough at the awakening, that's what I do. Cut the cords below the feet.
It's so wonderful having had 16 years of realizing how spot on, like, everything you say is.
Yeah, thank you.
And how, like, every year more and more.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I brought up, like, coming here, people who have, like, graduated, like, it's such an incredible gift to come here. Just the hour, 2 hours, whatever I've been here,
Yeah,
it's like worth a grand, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
Really, it doesn't ever stop.
yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Almost every time my mom and I have coffee, we bring up something that we learned at some point.
Yeah. That's great,
And
thank
you
you.
first came in when? Before me, right?
End of '95, I did
95.
relationships workshop.
95.
I did the awakening to the first of '96.
Yeah. Some of these people weren't born yet.
Thank you,
I
guys.
like your shoes.
You can take off now.
They saw the shoes very cool.
Okay.
I was listening to that crap. Yeah. Something's trying to get through.
Yeah, I think I've got the sound because I was testing it, so I just don't do it. I'll have to fix it later. So I don't have
Any questions?
No, but then apparently when I was trying to fix the sound again, the video froze, but now I know how to unfreeze the video, so I fixed it.
I didn't get anything from anybody. Usually keep it.
Okay. I can't remember, Danielle, are you in Movement to Mastery? I can't remember. Ultimate, excellent.
She's the
But-
ultimate.
Good.
I am so.
How about both ultimate? We're the ultimates.
Okay, so the advanced leaders can join them if you want to, but you don't have to. But you two, I want you to do whatever were your new skills that we gave you during your interview.
It's the
Okay,
vulnerable
I have to
one.
look it up.
I think that's the one.
And Trent, we didn't put the stuff up on the board, so you might want to copy that. Actually, put it on the little board.
I have so much.
Yeah. You have that paper, right?
I do.
Okay.
And in the live streaming, but they really can't see the photo very well, so we'll probably need to talk at it.
Oh, then put it on this one. If this is the one that they see, put it on that one.
Maybe I can zoom.
Oh, well, I know what you can do. You got your document, print it up, you can take a picture of it and then just text it to them.
Yeah, I'll do
I think this is what you told us. I have it written down, but I think this is it. I think. Is it the vulnerable thing? Okay. Want us to do it?
Yeah.
At
Do
the
it
same
now.
time?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
If it takes doing it with a person, do it with Elisa or do it with each other.
Here it is.
Recently, I felt very vulnerable when I expressed my anger and hurt someone.
Good. Thank you.
Get off my back! Stick it where the sun don't shine!
I think that was ad-libbed.
That's
I
what
thought it was
say to
fantastic.
Nobody's coming out again, sunshine.
everybody. Sorry, I had something in my throat.
Okay, let me just check with you guys.
Well, I originally had phone buddy was Irving, and I still will keep him, if that's okay.
You can, it's up to him.
He said yes, we discussed it, because he wants to continue like doing peer processing, it's helped him, we did that already, it helps him.
Good.
I probably now will take Danielle, if it's okay with her, we spoke briefly about doing it once a week, about 10 or 15 minutes.
Hear it now.
do me a favor, remind Irving that whether he's continuing with this program or not, he can still come to almost every meeting as a guest and get the content, you know what I mean?
I'll let him know.
Yeah.
And he's currently watching the live stream. Good.
The other thing is also, I wanted to get that check back, if that would be okay with you, Trent, afterwards, for the marker that I did for him.
The quit check, yeah.
Have all of you, have the two of you and the people listening on the live stream, have you all gotten to Trent your excused absences?
I only have one so far.
Good.
Yeah, I only have one too.
Okay,
It's just a
good.
late one. the one
And
I-
Trent
Yeah.
has a document that has them all listed?
That's the only one I have
Okay.
right now.
Do me a favor and email me a copy so that I can keep them someplace in the
Yeah,
computer in
and
case you
you've
ever.
got those excused absences in your envelope. And then let me just double check, because we made a photocopy of the excused absences. And I have Danielle, Australia in March for 11 to 12 days, working on flight dates, so we don't have exact dates.
Okay. Have you guys been experimenting with your small, medium, and big consequences and rewards?
I've begun my, actually I did my second one rather than my first one. I've begun my weight reduction by starting my Weight Watchers, and I've also started working out. So that was one of my goals, to enhance my body. So that's already started, so I'm on path on that. I haven't started, I'm missing one of my declarations. I can't find it. It's the one that I got from Pinnacles. Yeah, no, from Lava. We just did it. I can't find where I wrote it. It's the only one, but I have a couple of other ones that I've also declared, created, and I'm gonna start doing them.
You might ask some of the people at Lava who might remember what yours was.
Yeah, okay. And that's the only thing, and so I've worked out, I'm still kind of going back and forth with the medium, the large one, the big ultimate one I have already. It's just the large, and the other one I'm not sure
Okay.
yet.
Okay, Danielle, how about you? Have you been, starting to play with them to see how they work?
I so far have rewards, but I haven't really worked on the consequences other than the big one. So I need to set
So-
the small and medium
Go ahead and
consequences.
put it in your daytimer or wherever, that you're gonna have that all finished up and to Trent, let's say within a week.
Okay, and, do I need to have another copy do I need one copy for him and one copy for me? Okay. Where can I get another copy? of
Yeah,
this?
that's the thing that we had, the sheet.
Do you remember I said on the very first night of Master Keys to make many copies at home before you fill them out, so that you could use one copy in pencil and then have other copies you could polish?
Yeah.
Yes, but that's, I think it was the same day I did my interview, so I used the paper.
You didn't make copies the night before?
I can't find my computer. Is there a
I didn't make
PDF file we
copies.
could just get sent to us, so we could
Okay.
just keep printing them out?
I'll go ahead.
But it's written in pencil, so I can just,
No. I'll email you a copy. As a matter of fact, I'll email all of you a copy so that you can have it in your computer and then print it up anytime you need one.
Perfect.
okay, thank you.
Those are the horizontal handouts.
Yep.
Let's go.
Okay, I'll email those tomorrow. Okay,
My game plan's pretty much stayed the same. I think I like the way it is. as far
I
as-
just want a yes or no on these when I ask you. Are you starting to experiment with your plan of action, your phone buddy, and your consequences and rewards?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. I want you to begin studying the quiz.
Every day.
I remember.
I'm ready.
And then be ready either the next meeting or the meeting after that to start answering the questions for quiz
Are you going to do them orally, or is it?
orally.
Okay, so you just ask this question and we have to answer it.
Yeah. And when you don't know it, then your team gets docked, and then, there will be big consequences. I don't remember if I put in my first email that had the quiz in it, that I said optional
Yes.
is to read Influencer or Change Anything by Macmillan, Grenny, Patterson, et cetera.
Yeah, you did, and you also sent the what you call it too. You also sent something about the small group thing, that as well, the extra credit kind of deal.
Mhm.
You also put that in the email as well.
Okay, I'm gonna share with you now the 4 phases of any project. This comes from Lori. I like her metaphors. Phase 1 of a project is the seed. It's when you begin a project, and it's the romantic notion. In other words, you have all the hope and the possibility, and I'm gonna do great things, and we're gonna really make unprecedented movement, and it's all that initial excitement, okay? Phase 2 of a plan is that you have a practical plan, a system that can work. And you start to actually apply some of your practical plan. And you see that it actually can work. The third phase of any project is when the breakdown comes in. Now, that's when your subconscious fears will start to arise, especially if you start to make real movement. And it means that you're starting to go into the birth canal. Now, 2 things will happen then. You'll either collapse, and I know enough about movement to mastery over many years to know that that's when people typically will run away. Or you'll do whatever it takes. That's the key. If my leaders are distinguished by anything, it's that when things happen that don't fit their pictures, they do whatever it takes to get through it. And then, of course, the 4th phase is the breakthrough, the results, the rewards. Based on the fact that we know if you're in movement to mastery, you will go through a breakdown phase. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And usually in movement to mastery, there are 3 levels of breakdown phase. The last level, which is right before you start to take on your Breakthrough Saturday, is when everybody in your small group becomes a member of your family. And you get to have all kinds of fun stuff come up to the surface, okay? So I want to say this, and I'm going to say it hopefully enough times that some of you will start to listen to me. The best support you can have while you're in movement to mastery is a professional coach for accountability. I urge you to get the best one-on-one coaches that you can afford. And if it was me in this program, I would do sessions with Lori, with Laura, and with me. And then decide who you think can support you the best, and either continue rotating or do some sessions with me and some sessions with Lori and some sessions, do it however you do it. And I just want you to know that if you're on a budget, you don't have a lot of money, still get the best you can afford. If the best you can afford is each other, then facilitate each other. Okay? Because you are going to go through breakdowns, and you're going to be learning how to do moving your emotional energy and doing empowerment dialogue, or if you've gone through the awakening, you've been through love, or you can take yourself through an awakening style breakthrough. You're starting to get the tools. Go ahead.
So when you sign up for the movement into mastery or the ultimate, don't I automatically get a certain amount of one-on-ones with you, or was?
No. Ultimate is what includes spirit and lava and something else. If you pay for, I can't remember the $12,000 or $15,000, oh no, there's a $15,000 and a $20,000 program.
Yes, a big one, yeah.
Okay?
Okay, those are the ones that have included.
Those are the ones that have the one-on-one included. Good, but they're much more expensive.
Say you go to someone who's been like Lisa's been through it 3 times. Say you wanted to go with her, and we can arrange it with her or someone else who's gone through to mastery for coaching. Would that be acceptable as well?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, do the best that you can afford. Like, Lori and me and Laura are the most expensive, but from our point of view, it's obvious, like, I was doing a session on a couple, maybe, I don't know, 6 months ago or something. And I remember thinking to myself, after I got done, the first session with a couple is usually 2 hours. And when I got done, I remember thinking to myself, you know, about 7, 8 years ago, that session would have taken me probably 4 sessions. Because you get better the more experience you have. You know all the shortcuts, you know what I mean? It's like that, you know?
Cost
But,
effectiveness.
I mean, if you're on a budget and there are people in movement to mastery who have, are very tight on their budget, so then they work with each other, or they work with people, advanced leaders, or whoever's got some
You
experience.
could work with both. You could go to one
That's
session
right.
with you and then go to a session with her.
Right, exactly.
So I'll
That's
put,
right.
I'll offset the cost, okay?
That's right. Okay. Does everybody have their post-dated checks in?
I brought mine.
Okay, so you'll
Well,
give them to Trent
I
tonight.
have my,
I gotta get that
Yeah.
early.
Yeah, because Angela's good.
I
You've got
need,
yours?
so yeah, I have brought my quit check, and then I have 8 months, I need to order more checks to get the rest.
Okay, we'll get those in tonight, the 8 months, and then give him a deadline by when you'll have the rest of them.
Okay.
And you know, if you have a bank or a credit union, you just have to go and get counter checks. They'll give you counter checks before you wait for the actual written check.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there a place online that I can like check my balance and stuff?
No, but we're trying to get it set up with Mary, who's the bookkeeper, to do it so that she can send you guys a monthly thing that will
Like an
show,
invoice.
like, here's your starting balance, here's what you've paid, here's what you owe so far, like that. Okay?
We didn't have that in my day.
Back in the old days.
You wanna start using your weekly, Movement to Mastery weekly checklist form. When you call your phone buddy, that's the reason you're calling your phone buddy, is so you can take this weekly checklist and go through it with your phone buddy just to make sure everything's okay. Because once we have the meeting after the Breakthrough Saturday, the Movement to Mastery Master Keys, once we have that workshop over and we have the post-meeting, we're gonna start choosing a team captain, and we're gonna start finding out, like, you're gonna actually call your phone buddy, then you're gonna call your team captain, who's a peer team captain, and that peer team captain is gonna call Trent, so that we know who's actually doing it, because the way Trent knows that one of you is man overboard and we need to send a life raft off is on that phone call with your phone buddy and your weekly checklist.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It's different from the green light checklist. I have-
Yeah, that's what
I have the stars are for big kids, movement for mastery weekly checklist form, and then I have green light checklist master, the movement of choice.
Yeah.
These are all
That,
three.
that one
This is the weekly one.
is the one that you talk to your phone buddy
This
about.
one. It's got this on the other side.
Yes.
Big kids.
Oh, man.
By the way, I just want you to know that I've had enough people tell me that when they did the Stars Are for Big Kids thing, that it really works. Like, one of my breakthrough leaders, when she was, doing 30 Days to Peak Performance, she created a big poster with the things she wanted to do in her 30 days, and the stuff she wanted to do every day, and the stuff she wanted to do every week, and like that. And then she put stars on her chart, and she was blown away at how well it worked. So I'm just letting you know, it's not an expectation, it's just an option, but I've had enough people tell me that it really worked. It's like saying that in some ways, we're all still in first grade, and the stars work.
Oh, that's
know.
what these little triangles are?
Yeah. You can actually go buy stars and put them on there.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, let's see if I've got these.
You gotta make a big chart. These are little small ones.
Like this. They're at all $1. Just get the stars and put them on.
These are kind of small, though, you can make a bigger thing.
Well,
if
you
want.
can, you can
Yeah,
make a
but-
poster.
Mhm.
You can blow it up.
I missed a lot by jumping into Movement to Mastery after class.
Now, I'm just checking with you guys to see if,
Game plan,
Yes, I have that.
work. Got that one?
yeah, and on the back of it,
The back of it
it
says.
shows you how to fill it out on the second page or
Word
back of
summary
it.
example,
Yep,
second page.
Oh, yes,
Yeah. I'm sure it was like this, so if you look at the
Oh,
examples
just
are right there.
examples.
see, this is the blank copy, and either on the back or on the second page, it has this one.
We should
I
make
know I
multiple
have that.
copies of this, right?
Yes.
I know I have this.
Gotta make sure.
Oh.
There you go, you found it.
It's all there, it's just. It's all there.
I think I'm supposed to get a folder, but I just made my own.
You're supposed to get one of the.
You are
like-
supposed to get a
This is
folder, a
what it is.
purple folder.
Yeah, I already have a folder.
Trent, look in the other room and just see if we have an actual one that we can give them.
Well, I decided to make this, and unless it's
Get
different
the
than
cool
what you guys.
purple one.
Well, I do kind of like the
Purple
purple
one.
one.
You can have either your own or a purple one, I don't
Purple one's
care.
cooler.
And it's actually a really good idea to create dividers in your thing so that you can keep everything organized.
Yeah, I had a pile like this of papers, and I started going through them last week and did not realize,
It's all the same.
well, yeah, there's a bunch of the same. I brought some back.
There it is.
Oh, yay! I
Uh,
do like the purple. I like it better than the pink.
Do these work? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you,
That's
sir.
good, yeah, it has little pencils in it and everything.
Oh,
Do you need
really?
one?
Check it out,
Add
open
or
for
you
people.
can-
I have one of them, thanks.
Fancy. I do like this better, actually.
Open it up, look.
Yay!
Okay.
And notes and everything. Oh my gosh, love it. So excited. Awesome.
Also, I've been doing that thing you told me, go to everyone in my life and say, no, thank you.
Yes, I've been.
Green light
I've been
checklist.
working on that
That's the
too.
one you told me, I had somebody ask me, could you do this? I said, let me get back to you. And then I looked on my calendar, and I was able to do it. So you said, stop, look, and then decide.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna enroll you one more time into the power of that thing. You wanna remember that if you do something every day for 30 days, you create a new neural pathway in your brain. And then research has shown that every 90 days, after the first 30 days, it anchors in at a deeper level, and then a deeper level, and then a deeper level. In other words, the habit becomes solid, okay? Only after 40-plus years of doing the green light checklist do I now know the value of that green light checklist. Because until you do it, you're really poor at the moment of choice. The reason why everyone in our culture who's somewhat intelligent and somewhat capable is an overwhelmer, because they're really bad at the moment of choice. They don't, well, yeah, I wanna do it, of course, yeah, I wanna do that. But they don't look to see now how much time and how much energy and how much money and what am I willing to give up, and, you know, they don't do that, and so they're always juggling too many balls, you know what I mean? They're always in overwhelm,
Overextended.
you know? So really, I really applaud you guys if you are really getting started on the green light checklist. And if you do it for a couple of months, at least it'll get the ball rolling and you'll start to make it a habit, okay? Okay, now, I'm gonna offer either Angelo or Danielle some facilitating. And if neither one of you wants it, then I'll offer it to the advanced leaders. Okay, Danielle? What do you want, what do you want
Johnny on the
facilitation
spot.
on?
Well, can you explain to me what this?
Oh.
That's one question.
Did I jump, does everybody love it?
I'm available as a facilitator so that if you have an issue, a problem, an upset, a challenge, a barrier, whatever you'd like to get beyond, I can short and sweet, see if I can get you to get beyond it.
Okay.
You know, whatever's going on in your life that you'd like some support with.
Well,
I've heard I'm pretty good.
as I think everybody knows that my main struggle right now is with my smoking addiction. I thought you know, right before the first of the year, I thought, I've worked on myself a lot this year. I think I know enough skills to really put them to the test. And I made it about 30 minutes. And since the first, I've been really just, you know, in, you know, the resist, the hate myself, shame, depression, worthlessness, all this crap.
I got it.
And it just feels like I've forgotten how to be myself. You know, it's just like everything that I've been learning just goes right out the door. Yeah, I don't, the more that I want it, the harder it is, you know, and it's just like, it just overwhelms me. It just it just takes over me all the time. It's in my mind 24/7.
I got it. What I like about this question is that it really demonstrates how people struggle needlessly with their challenges. Like, you've got an addiction to smoking. That's fact. All the other thoughts and feelings about it are BS.
Yeah.
Like punishing yourself, being ashamed, depression, all that's crap. It's completely unnecessary. As a matter of fact, it's counterproductive to actually making any real change. Like, as long as you keep beating yourself up about it, it will never go away.
No.
It's the worst thing you can do to make, if you want to make sure you stay stuck, beat yourself up.
Yeah, and I think I've just been doing that for so long. I mean, yeah, 20+ years. It's
Now,
not-
here's what's really interesting about it, and this is going to be misinterpreted.
Get ready.
But you have an addiction to smoking, okay? What does that mean? It means nothing. It means nothing.
It's a judgment call.
It means nothing. See? Let's say that this is the size of the blackboard, and now a circle, a boundary defines a thing. So now I have a thing, okay? If I take the circle away, what do I have? Nothing, which is the same as everything. It's a blank slate. See? Now, if you can keep reminding yourself that your smoking addiction means absolutely nothing. It means nothing about you. It means nothing about your body. It means nothing about smoke or the cigarettes or the companies that make the cigarettes. It means nothing. It will be like 100 times easier to change it, to do something with it. Now, a great recommendation would be to do an empowerment dialogue with somebody who knows how to do empowerment dialogue and talk to the smoking and find out what it wants. There's a real sweetheart message why that part of you is doing what it's doing. It might be that the part of you that smokes is like, well, I feel really nervous around people and I hate going to parties because I get self-conscious, and when I smoke, it calms me down and I can actually be at a party. And we don't know. There's something that it's wanting that's good and sweet and wonderful. Like I want to relax or be comfortable around people or something. We don't know what it is yet. But the smoking can tell you. And what it wants is good and sweet and wonderful. It's just using a really terrible way to get a good thing. So all you got to do is find out what it wants and goes, I tell you what, I'm going to give you a way to get that, and I'm going to show you how to get it even better than smoking. And the moment the part of you that smokes sees that there's a better way to get that thing, it'll drop smoking like that. A better way? Ooh, okay. I'll go with that. I'll give you one little trick to try, okay? Just, it's a little experiment, okay? Can you take a 3-day weekend?
Possibly. Probably.
Soon as that works, start off your 3-day weekend by smoking so many cigarettes in a row that you get sick. It's what parents used to do in, 100 years ago. Right? Okay, go ahead, smoke 2 packs. Right? Once your body gets that it does not like being sick, okay, and you do some empowerment dialogue, it will take an alternative over that. That make sense?
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Acknowledge her.
Thanks for taking it first. I'd like to be facilitated. It's an easy one.
Okay.
I'm excited about the program. Looking forward to doing what I need to do. But there's some resistance in that I'm either giving it, like I feel like I'm having doubts. My doubts are coming out. I don't think they're that strong that it's gonna do any harm, but it bothers me that I'm usually very organized, very on top of things, and I just feel kind of lackadaisical right now, and I don't know why it's doing that, what the resistance is. So that's what I need to get over. I was really excited, now I'm kind of like mellowed out. Maybe it's because I'm sick, I don't know. It just doesn't feel as powerful as it did before. I'm just kind of feeling like,
I got it. Take a guess, wild guesses, what the lackadaisical is saying.
don't want to do it, or afraid.
Yeah, keep taking guesses.
If you do it, you might succeed.
What would be scary about succeeding?
Then I would have no reason to bitch about not succeeding. I mean, then I would have no reason to stop myself. And I feel
And what would happen if you couldn't stop yourself?
people would notice me.
And if people notice you, then what?
It might have some bad consequences. I don't know.
Like, give me some example.
Stand out. You're a problem. Something wrong with you. Why are you being so?
Yeah.
Why are you expressing yourself? Why are you letting things come out? Hold back. These I know are childhood things. Hold back on what you know. Don't be
Yeah.
angry. Don't show
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
want to improve things.
Right,
Don't
right.
be
Right.
Don't be that guy, or don't be negative Nelly, or whatever you want to call it, negative
Right.
Nancy.
Right.
It's just, I'm afraid to express it because I'm afraid too much.
Yep.
And I'm really working really hard to center myself a lot more. I do feel more centered ever since we did the awakening and the lava. It's been amazing for me, but it's still difficult to slow everything down to a point where I can just notice. And then when I do, all this stuff starts coming up, and it frightens me. So maybe it's a double-edged sword.
Right. That feels like we're getting close now.
It frightens me.
Right. Yeah. It frightens me because if I really get still and slow down and centered, what's the worst that could happen?
Bless you. What's the worst that could happen? I could make a change. I could do what I really want to do. I could build hospitals, I could build schools, make a difference in children's lives.
Why is that scary?
Because people are just so, I push back, and then I have to push back. And then I don't know if I push back, it'll be too much. It's scary because I don't want to push back in a negative way. I want to push back in a positive way. And that's what I'm grappling with right
So if you push back in a negative way,
I'll just be myself. I'll be the old Angelo, which I don't like. I don't like the gruff, have to push through a wall because that's what I have to do to get attention. I wanna be more peaceful and just be able to get the attention without being.
okay, so put Angelo in front of you, put a chair in front of you, and just say to Angelo, I promise you that I will not
Let you lose control.
I will not choose to be so still that I actually show up until hold on. I promise you that I will only show up when I can be the new Angelo.
I promise I will only show up when I can be the new Angelo. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait.
Well, he right now is stopping you because he doesn't trust you to not do it the old Angelo way. He's gonna keep stopping you until he's convinced that you're really sincere about becoming the new, like as long as you do the new Angelo, you can build the hospitals, you can show up huge. But he doesn't want the old Angelo. You have to convince him. Once you convince him that you will not show up as the old Angelo, he'll let you do it.
I had a difficult time this past Christmas when I let myself become the person that raged on to a relative, like my sister, my cousin, my sister. And it felt so wrong.
Yeah.
It felt so horrible.
Yeah.
The next day we made up, we talked about what was going on. But I don't like expressing that part of me that was just so
Yeah.
old world, so much my
Right.
parents.
Right,
And it shocked me that it came
Right.
back.
right,
And
Right.
that's what I think that's part of the issue too, is like,
right.
I see how easy and quick it could come right back.
Right.
Easy it can come back without even effort. And then after it was all said, after we fought, I was like, I felt mortified. I felt horrible. I felt like this is not me. This is not who I am.
No.
Instead of, my cousin goes, all this great work you're doing with these people, look at you. And I was like, yeah, look at me. The Wilbur get out, look at me.
Well, and think about how brilliant the self is, that like a boiling pot, the self will always bring up the perfect bubble to help you take the next step. And since your commitment is not wholehearted enough to actually keep the lid on that, okay? Now, I want you to know, when your commitment is wholehearted, like really wholehearted, you probably will slip up about a dozen more times.
Great.
But that's after
After.
you're wholehearted. And each of those times, you're gonna be more disgusted, more, ugh, you know what I mean? And it's gonna get stronger and stronger, and one day, you'll notice it starting to come up, and you're like, no, thank you. You see what I'm saying?
I saw it in Sean, you know, I want to laugh, I saw it in Sean. When he was doing the movements of mastery, I was watching people, I was in the background, I was a stepchild, I was called. And I saw his change.
Yeah.
I really saw the change in him.
Yeah.
From the beginning of the program, last January, to when they finished in November. I saw it. It was incredible. There's a couple of people that I saw that way. Their change was amazing. And I think that you're right. My commitment feels that it's there, but it's not. And I know I'm 100% in my heart. I know I'm 100% because I wouldn't have signed up for the program if I wasn't ready. But I still feel there's that lag that's telling you you can't do it. You're not going to finish this. You're not good enough. Somehow you're going to blow it, fuck it up somehow. And that's what keeps coming up. It's like
Okay.
a stupid little voice.
Right.
I flick it off.
Well, it's, each time you slip, it's not evidence. See, like her, you're creating it to be something. Oh, you know what it means when I slip up? It means you haven't learned shit.
Right.
What the hell's wrong with you? My God, how many programs you gotta do before this crap? You're making all kinds of crap up. It doesn't mean shit. Doesn't mean anything.
You're right. You're right.
And the way you could create it, because since it doesn't mean anything, it's, you have a blank, you can create it any way you wanna create it. And a better way to create it would be, see, after I make 100% commitment, I've only got a dozen of slip-ups, and it could be gone. Ooh.
It won't affect me anymore.
One less.
Right.
There's another one, see, I slipped up again, one less. You know what I mean? You could create it any way you want to.
Thank you.
So, take your thing off your lap. Now, feel how frustrated you were. I want you to feel how frustrated or disgusted or whatever you were when you caught that you slipped up. Like the next day, feel how big that was. Now, take all that feeling, find a place in your body where you feel it, put your hand on it. Good. Now, put that feeling and put it into, take as big as that feeling is, put it into a commitment to be the new Angelo. All of that feeling. You got it?
Yes.
Now, from that place, notice how much better you feel about letting yourself dive in. See, that doesn't feel lackadaisical. The only function of regret is commitment. A new commitment. Put all that electricity, all that force into the new commitment, and you can be resolved.
Thank you.
Okay, let's acknowledge him. Yay. Did we acknowledge you?
I can feel it. You got something. You got something. I can feel it. You're bursting.
That's great. Okay, gang. Now listen, do me a big favor. Please get everybody you can think of to do the next blast off, the next Master Keys. Because I really want you guys to have a decent size movement to mastery. You know what I mean? So please put all your effort into getting people either to sign up now or to come to the guest event so we can have a decent sized group. Okay? And again, I want to tell you, if it's workable for you, don't be afraid to do it again. It will serve you. Okay? Okay. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Do we have a source document for this one?
A source document?
Yeah, I need to give it to Zen. She wants to start enrolling.
What is a source document?
Like an electronic copy of it. Just
Oh, yeah,
whatever
I
you
sent
have
it
that
to
you
her.
printed. You already did?
I emailed it to
Oh,
her.
okay.
It's a long time ago.
Then you're fine.
You can take a hard copy, but I already emailed her the, oh, you know what?
Electronic copy.
I just realized the one I sent her had the old price. It was last year, so, let me
Updated.
email her a new one.
Okay.
Take a hard copy. It went up $100, so I'm just going to email
We need to
And,
make copies of this too.
I would.
Does it need to have an S on
Like,
it?
make it, it's like stuff we get to write on, because that's, he said, yeah, he'd make good copies of that as well. I think they're gonna send
The
also.
one I
PDF
sent her
copies of
was,
the other
was
stuff.
250, and this, it's gone up now.
Mhm.
If she's promised people that they can do it for 250, then we'll honor that. But if there's new people she's getting it to, then we're gonna do the this year's pricing.
I think I wrote you, what's your number? Let's just see if I write it down.
801-897.
So, let's see if it's up, 801.
Check.
97.
And let me get,
Let me just check with you guys.
2140.
I'm just checking, okay, no
You're
expectation.
good with me, stop streaming?
Yep, got it.
Yep, stop streaming.
Got it.
I'm just checking, either one of you wanna go to